Let me give you an example. Again, I won't agree on the systemic racism thing, but if you're like, regardless of how we analyze things, we should make it easier, not harder, through our government programs to stay married to a single person. Like, why is that not something that, at least in the information I consume, I don't see as a... I mean, like, there was a huge emphasis on the systemic racism narrative. Would you agree in the last couple of years? Like,
oh, for sure.
Robin DiAngelo, Kendi. I'm not saying you agree with that stuff. Like, why is that? Like, why is that? Is it just like white liberals that are...
Yeah, it's white liberals.
Can you expand? I'm like, just curious. Can you expand on that? Like, I think it's super interesting.
I was watching some of your videos, you know, interviewing kids on college campuses, and I was struck by how, and I don't mean this to attack any of them, but what a poor job they're able to do in articulating why racism exists and racism is wrong. And so I understand why you have the perspective going up against those folks who seem to crumble at the idea that Black people commit more crimes, a disproportionate amount of crimes. Like, which they do. Yeah. Yeah, of course. And they know that racism bad. Like, they know in their head racism bad. And so they come to these conversations not wanting to concede a ground that they think is racism, but they don't actually understand what racism is. It's white liberals who have this very superficial understanding of racism. I'm sorry.
No, I totally agree with this.
That's fostered by some of these people. Like, no, I don't actually have a problem. Like, so I read Robin DiAngelo's book,
White Fragility,
with the idea of like eviscerating it in an article. And honestly, it was so milquetoast and like a nothing burger that I didn't even have the energy to write about it. Because the thing is, there's a time and a place for a certain kind of a conversation for a white person who's in an office place who feels like they don't know how to talk to Black people, and they should read those books, and that's fine. But it has nothing to do with social justice. It has nothing to do with the George Floyd protests. It has nothing to do with criminal justice reform. It has nothing to do with anything other than interpersonal relationships between upper middle class white people and upper middle class Black people, which is fine. I'm an upper middle class Black person.
No, I know, but like, but I mean, in some ways, I mean, you and I could probably agree on a lot of the class stuff. Like, I'm not a big fan of like Amazon running our entire country, like all this sort of stuff. But do you think that race is used as kind of, I hate to, like the race conversation, whether it be like corporate America giving a bunch of money to BLM, like BLM dominating the conversation, is just like not helpful in some ways. It just puts aside some of these other kind of, like when you say that it's harder than ever to have children in America, like you're singing my song. Like, I totally agree.
Yeah, so yeah, the co-option, the corporatization of these issues is a big problem on the left. The BLM National Organization, I just had the reporter who wrote the big expose about how much money has gone unaccounted
Mansions
for
everywhere.
on BLM on my show. It's a real issue. I also think there were a lot of sincere, good-natured people who are not part of the BLM National Organization, and a lot of people who got their money stolen, frankly, because they sincerely believed in criminal justice reform, and those I think it's important to disaggregate. But this is the problem. It's so easy to co-opt these movements because all of these banks slap a BLM sign on their window.
BLA,
all of the corporations
sure.
slap the sign. The signs on the windows are no more than an insurance policy that says, please don't, break my window. It's not about a sincere commitment to any kind of cause.
You know what it's like? It's like right over Passover back in the Bible where they put the blood of the lamb.
Yes, I mean,
that's what you just said. I mean, like,
it is like that.